Namaskar, I'm Harpreet Kaur and I welcome you all to a live and interactive session. You are watching us on PM eVidya, channel number 6 and also on our YouTube handle NCERT Official. This session is meant for our learners of class 6 and the subject that we are taking up today in this session is English. We are going to learn about chapter number 5 of your textbook titled Kites. As it's of course seen, it's a poem, and what are we going to learn about this poem? Well, we all have seen kites flying up high in the sky, and we all want to be somewhere there. And also the festival of kites is approaching. So yes, what are your thoughts on that and what are we going to figure out in the poem? Let's see the difference there. And if you have any curiosity in your mind, there's any question that you would like to ask, please feel free to get in touch with us. Our phone number is 8800440559. Our email ID is tth.class6@ciet.nic.in, and on our YouTube handle NCERT Official, you can send us your questions, suggestions, and of course your feedback. Now, for this extremely wonderful session, we are joined by our expert who will tell us all about the kites. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Amit Ranjan. Sir is Assistant Professor of English from CIET NCERT, New Delhi. Sir, namaskar and very warm welcome to the session.
Thank you very much.
And we both are accompanied by our Indian Sign Language interpreter, Mr. Ashish. Ashish, namaskar. I welcome you to the session as well. Now, is it a deliberate attempt that you've chosen this chapter just because the festival of kites is approaching?
Oh, it's a coincidence and a nice coincidence.
All right. So tell us.
Coincidences in life sometimes.
So were you fond of kites when you were a kid?
Of course, I was. I never quite learned how to fly it, though. I remained an assistant of my brother.
Wow. So that's a nice childhood memory to cherish. I think we all can have this association with kites, you know, somewhere.
It's not easy. It's a difficult art.
Of course, you need strategy, you know, to keep it in the air, and then that competition that you have with your neighbors on special occasions is simply matchless. So please tell us, what are we going to learn here in this chapter? Are you going to tell us those tricks, or there is something else?
No, it's a poem by Daphne Lister, who's an American poet. This is in our class 6 textbook, Purvi, in unit 5, called Kites. So it's a beautiful poem about, and kite, is not just about kites, but kites are metaphor of our own desire, like you said, to fly high in the sky, feel light like a kite. We all have this desire to be like a bird, like a kite, you know, and also it depicts a very long tradition of kite flying.
And also somewhere we want this bird eye view, you know, our perspective from the top position.
Very true. Okay, let's read the poem first. Up in the air, see the kites fly like colored birds in the wind-whipped sky. I wish I was small and light as air. I would climb on a kite and sail up there. Then I would drift upon the paper wings and hear the songs that the wild wind sings. What fun it would be to look right down over the park and the rooftops of town. The people below would stand and stare and wish they were me, high in the air. That's the poem. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
This great desire to
and fantasies of a child, you know.
Yeah. It's not just fantasies of a child, it's everybody's fantasy.
Absolutely,
I guess.
yes.
And of course, adults also participate with great excitement in all kite festivals everywhere.
Yes.
So let's go over the poem line by line, and then I'll also explain the themes, vocabulary, etc. Okay, let's look at the first stanza. Up in the air, see the kites fly like colored birds in the wind-whipped sky. So it's a beautiful poem where students can also learn how to write beautifully. See how slowly the line sizes increase. Up in the air, see the kites fly like colored birds in the wind-whipped sky. And the imagery, the visualization that you see in the air, all these kites flying, and the kites to the poet are like colored birds. And so it's also a celebration of, in a poem about ecology, where we celebrate the beautiful birds in the sky, and it's also task for us to notice all the birds that fly in the sky and make a note of that. And the expression in the wind-whipped sky. So this is a metaphor. Obviously, a whip is different. A whip is something made of leather, which they use to control horses, elephants, and so on.
Okay.
But the sound that it makes, swoosh, whoosh.
Oh, yes.
So wind makes that sound. And so it's like wind is whipping the sky, and wind is controlling the sky, and all these sounds that are of swoosh sounds in the sky.
And you can hear them out when there is a friction between wind and the kite.
So whenever there is a strong wind, we hear it through the windows, we hear it in the trees, in the jungles, and so on. So it's a very beautiful expression of the wind-whipped sky. Second stanza, I wish I was small and light as air. I would climb on a kite and sail up there. So see how the desire is not to be big, as generally the desire is. No? We are all taught to be, you have to be big, you have to be grand, and so on. It's an inversion. Like also, if you have read, or most of us have heard of Lilliputs.
Yes.
And that is Jonathan Swift's in 17th
Gulliver
century,
Travels.
Gulliver's Travels, where there are these small people who tie up Gulliver, and they have small bows and arrows and so on. But this is an inversion of that everybody wants to be big. Here the poet wants to be small and light as air, to be so that she can climb on the kite and sail with the kite high up in the air.
Up above the clouds maybe?
Yeah. Then I would drift upon the paper wings, and then what would happen if I am able to climb on the kite? Then I would drift upon the paper wings. And so the kite has been compared to the wings of a bird. So of course the whole idea of a kite is to fly like a bird, and so it is compared to the wings. And hear the songs that the wild wind sings. So again a celebration of nature and nature's beauty and the sounds. And of course all the music that we play is not out of nowhere. We have learnt from nature's sounds for thousands of years, the rustle that the leaves make in the trees, the way the leaves fall, the way the wind rushes and gushes through the trees, and so on. And so we have learnt music from the wind, and this is going back to the nature. And when you are high up there, you hear winds travel fast high up in the air, and you hear different kinds of sounds, and it's music. Second last stanza, what fun it would be to look right down. And if you're high up there, what fun it would be to look right down over the park and the rooftops of town. You get a bird's eye view, these days a drone's view, but it is so much fascinating to look from above.
Yes.
You feel that the world is so small, and you also realize that you are so small. All our illusion of grandeur, bigness goes down, and also that the world is so beautiful from above.
From the top, yes.
You see all the mountains, rivers, and so on. The people below would stand and stare and wish they were me, high, high in the air. See, here the poem comes back a full circle. Initially, the poet wants to be high up in the air, and finally she is imagining that she is high up in the air, and everybody else is wishing that they were in her position. So this is also about poetry, how poetry or songs or music takes you to a certain height inside your mind, which you may not be able to attain physically, but your imagination takes you to great heights.
And somewhere we all crave for that appreciation. We want people to admire us, to like what we are doing. You know, so now I mean to say the poet here wants the people are actually appreciating, they are in awe of him. He's up there and they also want to be there in that position.
Yeah, but it is also about being free. Being free and being light, not being burdened by your daily routines or the struggles of life or the web that we are caught in
Absolutely.
of jealousy, of ill will or whatever, the freedom from all of this, to feel
Vices.
light and to feel and so everybody wants to be in that state where they feel calm and blissful,
Sir,
one with nature.
Before you move ahead, because this poem is meant for class 6 students, so what is the learning objective here? What they should be learning after it?
One is, like we see, this is a poem that celebrates nature, so
Okay.
we should observe the music that the winds make, the birds. We should also observe different kinds of, so the tasks that are there to do is look up the history of kite flying in the world. It's a
Okay.
very old tradition that
Yes.
started in China. We'll talk about it in a minute. And it's majorly done in India also on 14 January, also on 15th August.
Yeah.
But what one needs to be careful about is use simple threads and not the ones which are sharpened by glass and because they can be harmful to birds.
Yes.
Here we are trying to be birds, but we can harm birds and
Birds
also
as well.
harm human beings. This glass can also cut through our necks
Right.
and so on. But what's there to learn from this poem is that we should aim high in life, and we should also aim to be light. Light as in we should not keep burdens in our heart. We should be open, free, and we should have goodwill towards others, and everybody should have goodwill towards each other, and that's how we'll be able to soar high
Yes.
in life as well.
Absolutely. So this is something really
So
interesting.
it's to lead a simple life and aim high and also celebrate nature. These are the broad messages that come out of this beautiful poem. And
Simple
also the
living.
most important thing is to have a flair for language, to understand language well. Like this is a very good usage of language in this poem, to use the right words and be precise about using them. It's a very short and crisp, precise poem.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see the terms that have come over here in this poem. One is wind whipped, which we have discussed, a sky where wind is blowing strongly so that the sounds are like that of a whip, whoosh, swoosh, whatever, causing things to move or toss about. So of course, we all have witnessed strong winds, gusts. Some of us may have witnessed cyclones
Yeah.
in our lives. Yeah, like there was
Hurricanes.
all the cyclones that hit the coast of Odisha every
Yes.
year. I was there during Foni in 2019. It was
Devastating.
devastating and something out of the world. You
Nobody wants
don't
to
see
witness that, yeah.
things like that. Other word is drift. The drift is to be carried along by currents of air or water without a fixed direction. This word also becomes a metaphor, which means the meaning is transferred, where we say I am just drifting in life, which means I am wandering aimlessly without any fixed purpose. But literally it means to be carried by currents of air or water.
Okay.
Colored birds, we saw that it's a metaphor used by poet to describe how the kites look while flying. The paper wing refers to the structure of the kite. The kite is of course multi-shaped, generally shaped like a rhombus, which rhombus is a four-sided structure with all four sides the same, and which is light and made of paper.
But it
But
has also
here-
got a tail.
Yeah. So of course the imitation is that of a bird.
Yeah.
We have always learned from birds to fly. That's our inspiration. That's how aeroplanes are
Yes.
also modeled
Got their
completely on
structure, yeah.
birds. And we have studied birds for thousands of years to understand how they fly, what their structure is like. Stare is when you look fixedly or vacantly at someone or something with eyes wide open. And the wild wind, the wind described as having its own songs and a powerful, untamed nature. So this is an expression. Of course, wind is everywhere, but we understand wild in terms of a wild jungle, wild forest, and so on. But wild is also the sense of
Uncontrollable?
being uncontrolled, absolutely, and unabated without any rules. So, wild wind does not know any rules. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Now, some fun facts. We've been talking about a bird, and kite is a bird in its own right, which which is it's a younger sister of hawk. In fact, kite, in its etymology, the bird means an inferior hawk. So this is the image that you are seeing is that of a kite, and this is what the kite, the paper kite, is named. Interestingly, it goes back. Paper kites are used to train hawks, which means the kites which are inspired by the bird are used to train that very bird.
For what?
So, we fly kites very high to be able to make hawks fly higher, so that they hunt. So, now of course, this is a redundant practice, but for a very long time, 17th, 18th, 19th centuries, hawking was a great game, and which is how you have the word hawker now. So, hawking was, people had the bird hawk as pets, and those birds would hunt for them. They would hunt smaller birds, they would hunt rabbit and so on.
So, they were trained to increase the altitude based on the...
So, paper kites are used, they've flown high, so that hawks also fly high. So, a small bait would be attached to the kite, and in its greed they would fly higher, and hawks would then know of their ability, how high they can fly, so they can be used for then various purposes by the hunters, by the hawkers, by even police for surveillance and so on. So the paper kites are also used for fishing in some parts like Indonesia and
fishing?
So on. Yeah, like you spread the net in the water, and similarly you use kite to dip it into the water. You fly it, and then then with a sharp angle you dip it into water. You know, all these are tricks too, and then that would be fish. So kites were first flown in China around 200 BC. So the tradition is roughly 2,200 years old. And how was it used first? It is said in a legend that there was a king who flew a kite across a wall to understand how far he would have to dig the tunnel to reach the enemy camp successfully, to avoid the soldiers that are around the wall. And so they flew the kite, and then they measured the length of the string and dug a tunnel accordingly. And kites were banned in Japan at one point. Why? Because it became such an addiction, and people got so busy and addicted to flying kites that youngsters were getting spoilt with this game.
Like these days, youngsters are busy watching reels.
Yeah, so kite was a big problem. You would see that patangbazi is mentioned in literature quite a bit. It's also in movies like Flight of the Pigeons or Junoon of Ivory Merchant, and many other movies and so on. You'd see that this was a great hobby in places like Lucknow and Delhi, and there'd be lots of people spending their entire days flying kites. So now it's no longer banned in Japan, and you can see the most fanciful kites in Japanese kite festivals and so on. And you can see that in a few days from now on 14 January.
Sure, I'm sure we'll be witnessing many innovative kind of kites here in India as well.
Yeah, so now to go back to the poem and discuss some of the key ideas and concepts of how the poem works. So what we are trying to do, we have seen the simple meaning of the poem. Now we try to dig a little deeper to see how writing works, how poetry writing works, and how students can themselves write good poems. Poems are not just about rhymes, but are about, poetry is largely about creating images, and images tell their own story. So in this poem what happens is that the world begins on the ground with a view pointed upward, with a wish to fly high in the sky. So this is aspirational, this is all our aspiration, this is what everybody wants. We start from the bottom and we look up to the sky. We want to get somewhere. It's a simple and pure observation. And the two expressions at the beginning that we see, like colored birds, which introduces us to the poem, and the color to the brightness of the world. So the poet just doesn't see paper and wood making the kite, but she sees living creatures. So she personifies the kites. And so it transforms this toy or this kite into a symbol of freedom. And also the expression which we have discussed many times, wind-whipped sky. It creates a dynamic, energetic atmosphere, and it's got a sound of its own. So like colored birds, children, is called simile. Any expression in which like is included to compare one thing with the other is called a simile. And the wind-whipped sky, the repetition of the W sound is called alliteration. So repetition of any sound, consonant sound, alphabet, is called alliteration. Okay. And then the striking line, I wish I were small and light as air, I would climb on a kite and sail up there. The desire to be small. And also look at the verb of intent. From initially, it begins with seeing the kite, and then the seeing transforms to wish. So that seeing, what you're seeing outside, becomes your inside. That becomes your desire, your strong wish. This is how the poem transforms from observation to aspiration. And this becomes a dream. Do we have time, or we can?
We have the last 2 minutes. Yeah.
Right. So the flight is an experience of pure sensation, as we can see in the lines. I would drift upon paper wings and hear the songs that the wild wind sings. What fun it would be to look right down over the park and the rooftops. It ends with eventually what begins with aspiration, ends with perspective. When you see things from below, it's an aspiration that one day you would fly that high, and for that you have to be light. And all these things the poet is able to travel through imagination, merely imagination, and which is the beauty of imagination and of poetry and of perspective. So the emotion here is pure fun. There is no malice towards anyone. This isn't an overwhelming experience. It is one of discovery, that if you fly that high, you'll be able to see the world, the parks, the beauty of nature, and so on. And looking right down turns familiar chaotic world into ordered map-like vista. Everything is pleasing to the eye. So basically, eventually it is a poem that inspires imagination. It inspires us to imagine beautiful things for our life.
Also, I believe that because it's talking about reaching somewhere high and acquiring that power. So with great power comes great responsibility, and in turn we have to be mindful of the nature. We have to respect the nature.
Yeah, like I said, the poem throughout talks about celebrating nature, about the wind, the birds, and being a part of nature and being light like the wind itself.
Yes. Apart from the beauty of writing. Thank you so much, sir, for explaining this poem so wonderfully and for making us learn the objective behind the same. Thank you so much for your time and contribution to the session. We would also like to thank our ISL interpreter, Mr. Ashish, for his time and contribution. Thank you so much, Ashish. I would also like to thank my entire team for making this session a success. And now, before I finally conclude, let me take you towards the program schedule and let you know what's all coming ahead. So we are through with the session of English. In a short while from now, you can watch our session on social science. This will be followed by our online training program, where this week we are talking about digital footprints, and we will end the day with our session Sahyog. With this as a wrap, this is me, Harpreet Kaur, signing off, and we'll join you shortly. Namaskar.